There I am. I didn't add myself to the stream yet. It happens sometimes. Despite our best intentions, showing up and doing the best job that we can, it's like when you create that lesson and then the projector doesn't work, or there's a fire drill in the middle of it, or something happens. So, like right now, my wife cannot get onto the internet in our house, and we're figuring it out. Welcome back, everyone. It's Sunday Night Teacher Talk. My name is CJ Reynolds, and I run this here YouTube channel with the help of our community and our team. And really the goal here, right? I don't necessarily say this every week, but just as a reminder is, look, we're trying to show up on the day of the week that is the most terrifying for teachers and try to help them to get ready for the week that they want and not the week that they feel like particularly ready for at the moment. So maybe as you're like doing your lesson plans, or you're just like not doing lesson plans because you don't feel like it right now, that's fine. That's what we're showing up to do. So look, in the comment section, you can leave any question on any topic that you want. And we're talking teacher stuff, we're talking life stuff. And if you just put a Q or a question next to it, just helps us to identify it. But the other thing you can do is help other people out. One of the best ways to make yourself feel better in the world is by just blessing other people. So like showing up, giving your 2 cents to someone. I know that there are folks that have met on here that like meet outside of this now. They, whether it's in real life or in Zoom calls or for drinks or coffee or in private emails, like this is, Seth Godin has this idea where he says, people like us do things like this. And what that means is folks that are thinking about education the way that a lot of us are, the folks that are feeling the way that we are, the folks that are trying to be a teacher that they dreamed of being. That's what we're kind of dreaming with today and going with on this channel. So that's what we mean by that. You can hear some nature over here because it's oddly warm today here in our area. So we got the door open and the church bells are ringing. So just something we deal with. Do you need a second, or you want me to pick a question?
Yeah, I can't get onto anything.
Okay.
I have a question for you though. I can't put it up on a screen.
Oh, sure. Go ahead.
One that just is here. Alex is asking, guidance counselor here, how do you handle bullies? I find myself getting very frustrated by them, but I know there are bigger issues at play. I want to support them as best I can.
Handling bullies, I think, is, I mean, I'm going to give you an answer. I have an absolute answer to this. But I think one of the issues in dealing with bullies and with kids that are like what we would refer to as like a behavioral issue in class, or kids that are not a behavioral issue, but they are like really low academically, is that there is this mindset. I'm not saying that anyone on here is saying this, but just in the work that I've done, it's this mindset that we're going to be able to do something this year and we're going to fix it. And that is just not the case. Anyone who's ever been to therapy, like you don't go to one therapy session, you're like, all right, man, I'm good. Thanks a lot. Like, appreciate it. I'll talk to you later. It is an ongoing occurrence. Anyone that's ever done a mentor call with me. So we do mentor calls, or I do mentor calls with teachers, folks that want to be teachers, with administrators. They go up to our website, they sign up. And my guess is that this is just a feeling that I get, intuitive feeling, is that folks come with a list that's this long and we just can't bang it out in an hour. It's just, it is an impossibility. So in dealing with bullies, I think that there's probably a life of lifelong trauma that we're digging out of, that something happened, or a significant amount of time, even if it wasn't your whole life, right? That pain and anguish is coming from somewhere. And, one of my, I'm going to say it's one of my favorite songs is I put it in my book. I actually had to like contact the Mr. Rogers Association to put the lyrics in there. But Mr. Rogers had this song that was talked about, what do you do with the mad that you feel? When you feel so mad, you can bite. And it's this distinction between what are we doing with those feelings that we have? Are you biting people, punching people, punching a pillow, punching a wall? Like, what are you doing with that? And is it healthy? Right. So sometimes punching a pillow is just fine. Screaming out loud is just fine. But if we're hitting someone, it's not so fine. If you're punching your cat, that is not a healthy way of dealing with some of the stuff that you're doing, because all you're doing is inflicting your hurt on others. instead of healing what's going on. So I think when dealing with bullies, it has to start with figuring out where that's coming from. What are you feeling that is causing you to act like this? And sometimes that takes more than a teacher. It takes, like I said, a counselor, or it takes a school therapist, or it takes a team of individuals to show up and try and get to the bottom of that. I think the other thing is utter consistency. It is like, look, for those of you that, a question I get a lot is like, there's kids that like talk in your class, right? You're trying to talk and you told them on the first day, not talking. If you're talking, I will wait. I will sit here. I will not talk if you talk. We're going to do this. So what kids do when they're talking over you, they're waiting. They're waiting to see if you're really about it. Are you really about it? If you say you care about me, if you say you'll do anything, if you say that my success is your ultimate thing, if you say school's only ever about kids, prove it. Because in the schools I've worked at, and I'm sure a lot of you are dealing with students like this as well, where someone has said something and they didn't follow through. My dad said he'd be there for me. Then they got divorced. I don't feel like he's there. He cares more about his new kid more. They said my dog was going to be all right, and he wasn't. They said that grandma was going to be okay, and she died. My teacher said that she cared, but then I pissed her off really bad one day, and then she never, it was never the same again. So when we work as a community, as a team together, because it cannot fall on one person, kids need to know that we're really about it. So when I tell you there's no talking in my class when I'm talking, right? There needs to be a few adjustments. Maybe I'm talking too much. Maybe I'm just going on and on and on and on. And the kids are like, bro, I can't sit here for 45 minutes listening to you talk because I'm 12. It is, but like, I really mean it. Like it just doesn't happen. And so calling kids, looking someone in their eye and saying, could you please stop? Because I need to communicate these directions so that you understand, because your success is the most important thing in the world to me. And right now you're getting in your own way. I need 30 seconds to convey this information. Then we're going to jump into this lesson. It's going to be awesome. That's what I'm talking about. So with regards to bullying, it's contacting home, it's contacting other teachers, it's seeing what behaviors are there and seeing how we can best as a team really be about that kid, really put some things in place and really just keep showing up day after day after day, even though it's really, really hard.
All right, our next question is coming from Meredith asking, I have a class of 30 7th graders with 4 boys that are just changing the dynamic of the class every day with walking around the room, being disruptive and off task. How do I redirect them?
I am curious, Meredith, what admin says about this. This is one of those situations where if you have 30 children in a class that are 12 to 13 years old,
holy smokes.
You are. Yeah.
In 7th grade, you're like 12.
That's a lot of kids,
to 13.
Right? Like we hear Mar talk about this at school where there's like a lot of kids. There's
so
a
just
lot
imagine,
of class.
Well, our daughter's in 7th grade and she is 13. A 13 or 12-year-olds, 30 of them in a class.
Yeah.
Holy smokes, I can't. That's already like over full and, just a lot to handle. But 4 of them that are just, walking around being a disruption can... So with 30 kids in a classroom, it can be a big disruption.
Right? Because then what you're trying to do is teach 26 and wrangle 4.
Yeah.
And the 4 have a huge effect on the rest where they're like, oh, it's playtime time. It's go time. Oh, we're not.
Well, look at our daughter. One of the things that she is saying, like she takes headphones to school, not to listen like big noise canceling headphones.
Like a Bose headphone or like a Beats.
But she takes them not to listen to music, but to cover up in class because she can't focus when it's loud or there's a lot going on or disruptive students when we're supposed to be working. Like that really impacts her. Like she sat in a class, I think this weekend on Friday, and she was like, I didn't do anything. She's like, because I just couldn't.
She's like, I couldn't focus. Yeah. So, and look, I don't even fault teachers for that. That is not
they can't help it. There's 30 kids in a room.
When there's 30 kids, that is, you are trying to, that's like, you can't, I'm trying to think of a good way to put this. The first way that comes to mind, and this isn't even the best example, but I'm going to use it anyway. If you are the lead singer in a concert, right? So you're performing, you're trying to get the kids engaged, excited. You're trying to pull off some sort of like beginning of class, like icebreaker or attention getter, right? And you're up there and you're doing your thing. And there's 4 hecklers in the crowd. This is why there's security. That's why that exists, right? Not to kick kids out, not to just put them in detention, not just we're gonna call your mom and you're gonna get put in the in-school detention room, but there is something going on there. And while I'm juggling, while I'm performing, while I'm singing my song, I can't stop and address 4 and lose 26. I can't do it. So to me, the answer has always been pull those students out once, have a conversation with them. That conversation, I've said this many times before, but it bears repeating. Stepping into the hallway, I need to know this is what I'm seeing in class. Right. This is what I'm saying. I'm not saying this is what's happening. This is like, because sometimes I think I see things. I think things are going on and they're not. Right. So I just put it on. I'm not accusing. I'm just being curious in the beginning, even if you know what you saw. Right. Even if like it's an easier way to enter into a conversation, because once you accuse, defenses go up. Now it's like, I'm not listening to you. Now I'm going to just be like, it wasn't me. I didn't do it. That wasn't me. You don't even know what you're talking about. How come you didn't say that to the other kids? How come they were doing something and you didn't say anything to them? It's here's what I think I'm seeing. And I need to know, did I do anything in class that may have upset you to cause you to act out in such a way? And then the kids are on offense, not defense. Now it's, did I do something? I'll tell you what, no teacher has probably ever said that to a kid and it catches them off guard. They don't even, because they think they're getting pulled out to get in trouble. Yo, step in the hallway for a second. You're not in trouble. I just need to speak to you for a second. Look, here's what I think I'm seeing in class. And I need to know, did I do something that may have set you off? No, yes or no, right? Did someone else in class do something that may have set you off? Yes or no? If you get to the point where the kids are saying no, then it's like, all right, well then what's happening in class? Because right now you're in school to learn, you're in school to find success, you're in school to grow and to become the best version of yourself. We're on that path, right? We're not going to get there this year. Probably we're on that path. You're getting in your own way. So what can we do to help you to be the best that you can be in class? And then really, here's the thing about asking questions to students. You really have to listen to the answers. And so listening to kids, and if you don't have time for all of this in the hallway and there's 4 kids, I would not pull them out as a group. That's a terrible idea. It's talking to individuals one-on-one. If you can't do that, it's going to someone, an admin, going to someone that you trust, bringing somebody in that to say, this is a behavior that keeps being exhibited in class. I do not have the time to deal with it. I need someone else to speak to this child. So putting that kid out, sending them somewhere so someone can hold a mirror up so that they can figure out what's going on and what can be done. And then it takes you to follow up with that too, Meredith. So like if I ever send a kid out and I send him to my buddy, Mr. Meeks, and Mr. Meeks raps with him in the office, and then Meeks lets me know by text message whether he thinks that kid can come back or not come back, I need to follow up with the 2 of them later, right? So there is some work, but I'm telling you that putting that work in is the difference between losing your hair and having a great year, unless you're really into losing your hair. And then I don't think people are. So it is that's like the first level of kind of what I would do. I think the other thing is communicating with home. But there's ways to do that as well with regards to like not just being accusatory, but saying like, these are some behaviors I'm noticing in class and I'm just curious. I just wanted to let you know and see like if we could figure something out, like what works with your child that might help them.
I was just going to say that's the key right there. It's not saying, hey, your kid's doing all this, and this, and this, and this. Take care of this at home, get them under control and send them in all good, right? It's not about that. It's everything is a communal, like even for like the teaching, right? If there's the kids that are out of pocket, you have to create a community, like people around them to carry them through and help deal. Cause kids are still kids. They don't know like what's happening, all the things, right? Hormones that are happening in bodies, like what they're dealing with and experiencing out in the world, in their homes, like all of that impacts us. And kids are still so young that they don't even know that that's really happening with them and how that impacts them. So sometimes when you have a kid, I think that's just like out of pocket like that, sometimes they need to be just cared for a bit more. And I think sometimes kids need to even be, I don't mean to say that nobody's caring for the child. That's not what I'm trying to say.
I'm waiting to see if you say this next thing because I know we're aligned on this.
Go ahead, you say it because you
but
got it
I
already.
know we're aligned on this because we talked about it before. care doesn't always just look like hugs and love.
Yes, facts.
Care looks like consistency.
And holding
Care
people
looks like
accountable.
I'm really about it. Care looks like accountability.
Mhm.
Care looks like you're not the only person in my class, right? There's 30 kids in the class, right? I got 4 dudes that are messing it up, but you got to go because I got 26 more.
You know what? I never
teach,
used
right?
to think about that. And now I like think about like our daughter who like had that day the other day and
Yeah.
she sat in class. She had to go to the bathroom because she thought she was going to cry. She like got her like,
It gets
was
so overwhelming
for
yeah.
her. Like it's hard to manage all of them.
It is. But
Hang
I
in
think
there, Meredith.
But I think that folks like Meredith are not being given the tools to handle that. The school should have a
Yes,
play in
absolutely.
place, a strong play. Because
Well,
remember
that's
when I had
problem in education.
Mr. Jones, and when I taught in Camden, told me that if I send a kid out of class, I was sending my self-respect out of the classroom.
Oh, that's right.
Bro, what?
And
I really took that to heart. I was like, all right, I shouldn't kick kids out. And then I got to a point where I was like, no, this is like,
I can't teach the other
if one
kids.
person is on fire right now, they're going to catch everybody else on fire. We got to get you away from everyone else, and not in a like get you out of here, kick you out. We need to remedy this. You have other stuff going on that's prohibiting your ability to learn, right? It's Maslow's hierarchy, right? We're dealing with bargain basement level stuff here. We need to fix that. We need to help you, or not fix that, but like we need to help you
them
touch
even
that stuff
understand that or process it, or even like to just know that that's even happening. That's what I mean. Like,
but this is one of those things, real quick, that like, sorry, I'm talking over you. That when we keep asking teachers to do more, this is not a Meredith problem, right? This is like Meredith would deal with it. It's a 1-time or 2-time thing, or it's a little reminder because some kid is like a bit of a spaz.
Right, but there's bigger issues that like unsupported
that are systemic issues that are like we need to get to the root of this, and that is not a teacher thing.
No, it's not. Those are some of the things that we hope to be able to help with, like in the future. Or like when we talked about that in that I quitting video, it's not just for teachers. It's like we want to help support in schools, like, and change school cultures and support leaders and district leaders and like all of those things in the future to make real changes, and not just because you can't just change. It's not teachers. It's the problem. It's the system. Okay.
And I just feel like someone's going to be wondering, is he drinking out of a Lego head right now? And I am. So we went to Legoland this summer. And look at,
after going to Legoland, that's about all we can afford.
Same smirk that I do all the time.
That's why it's my favorite. Okay, our next question is coming from Steph Shook asking, okay, this is a part 1, so I'll have to find the other one. Our admin is pushing for a full AVID school. I don't know what that is. Do you? They bought binders and planners for every student and are now enforcing strategies during observations. This includes expanding our learning target to include which strategy we will be using and how we will know they learn the content. This seems like way too much to have to put on the board that they won't read anyway. They won't read it anyway. I remember.
Go back to that first part, please, because I just want to see what was the.
Gotcha.
They bought binders and planners for every student, are now enforcing strategies during observations. These include expanding our learning target to include such strategies we'll be using. Okay.
This makes me, before you start talking, it makes me think of the time that you had an observation and they were like, put all this stuff on the board because the students need it. And you're like, they're not even going to read that.
No. So I had to put, all of my daily objectives on the board, which I already have, right? But I have them in language that's like the students understand. It's on my giant smart board in all white background, just black Arial text, right? There's big block letters. I was told that can't be there. It has to be on the whiteboard. I have to hand write it. And underneath I have to put the core curriculum standard, not write it out. I just had to put like the number, because we all know that if there's one kids have memorized, it is the core curriculum standards, and they're going to understand right away, or that I actually have the number of the core curriculum standard memorized. And so I will immediately look at that and be reminded as to what I'm supposed to be doing at any given moment. So so I put it up there, and the next time I got observed, I was told, so here's the problem. You need to color code those. You need to be able to look at it and see the difference in them. And I'm like, one, do you know where we teach? No, like, you know what? And then let me tell you how many expo markers we get every year. were given two expo markers. They're both black. And so the only reason I have a ridiculous amount of expo markers is because I did 2 brand deals with Staples, and they gave me a metric buttload of expo markers. So I'm like, all right, no one else in the school. You know what they can write in? They can write in black and gray because everyone has that expo marker that you're just really hoping it just. Come on, buddy. It's like the end of the toothpaste.
It's like it started out black, but you get another
You're like
color.
shaking it like it's going to help. Maybe if I put it in some warm water, if I
think
put
that
it upside
help.
down, like, but you're getting blood from a stone. It's so difficult. And then all you got left is yellow. So, and no one has a black light in their room. So it was so absurd to me. Steph,
sorry.
I think these are questions that I go back to administration with, and I like to just ask questions and then talk to other teachers. Because this is a total moment where like folks are just commiserating in school. They're just complaining about what's going on and how to handle it. I think there's a lot of value though in teachers getting together, not as part of some sort of coup, but like getting aligned. What do we think? How do we feel? Because sometimes I'll say like there were ideas that my school had last year that were, like not last year, I won't say, but like in years past that were really beneficial. So when we decided to do a rotating schedule, which means that on Monday we had periods 1 through 8. On Tuesday we had periods 2 through 8, and then 1 was at the end. Totally against this. It ended up being one of the best decisions we ever made, because kids that typically got me at the end of the day could eventually get me at the beginning of the day, and vice versa. And so it was like, and you were getting kids at different times that they might be more successful. Totally helped me organize my class in a better way. It was an awesome idea, and I was totally against it. So sometimes what that taught me was sometimes admin has ideas that I think are dumb, but I have to just stop and I enter it with curiosity. And so it's about asking questions like, what is the value? Where is the data that supports this value that shows that this is a good idea? Because not all things that are like, it just, are we trying to look good or be good? Right? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not trying to polish a turd here. Like, I need it. Like, are we like really being about students? And this is what's going to actually create. So in that AVA mentality, it's like, it is closing the learning gap, right? And I know that's what all schools are like really up and heated about right now, because it's like, oh my gosh, we had all this learning loss, we got to catch back up. And then we wonder why like 8th graders are acting like 6th graders, because that's the last time they were in school. But I think there's ways to do that, but are we just trying to look good, or are we actually trying to be good? And then I need to see the science and the data behind that. And then at what point, how far are we going to take this till we realize it doesn't work? Because you can give me your ultimate playlist for a wedding, right? But any DJ knows that if you're playing a song and it clears the dance floor and everyone goes for drinks or to the bathroom or to have a cigarette, that you need to switch the record up. You can't just leave Living on a Prayer go until the end of the song, right? Like when you thought that was going to be the next jam and everyone was going to love it, it's like, oh wait, do we do the Four Tops next? Oh, we going Motown now? Like, are we playing the Supremes? Like, what are we doing? And this is another idea we talk about in the book to teach like a DJ. It is what are the mile markers for this experiment, right? We have this idea. Nothing is a silver bullet in education. So what are we going to try? But then at what point are we going to take a look at this and see, is this working or not? And how do we need to then shift? Those are some of the questions I would go to your administration with. That's where I would start. I have a whole 100 other things depending on which way that goes, like a flow chart. But that's where I would start.
All right. Our next question is coming from, he said it before. He told us, I shouldn't even say he, I don't think. Oh, I'm terrible at all this.
Burke. Yeah, Burke. I meant to ask
asking,
too.
I think it's Mix. MX is
sent
Mix.
The most wonderful, I think it was a DM.
To you?
Yeah. I'm getting a little emotional thinking about it now.
That's
so
nice. Okay. They're asking, my question today is sometimes I get stuck in the why are we even doing this mindset. Are we as teachers perpetuating capitalism that is so harmful to so many people by working in this system?
So
that's a deep question.
It is a deep question. I I think, you know, the idea of knowing what your why is
MX is mix, just for anybody who
what
needs
is it?
mix. Yeah. So if you see someone with an MX instead of Mr. or
Pronounced
Mrs.
like M-I-X?
Yes, he said M, or they said mix.
Okay. All right, cool. I've never had a student. Well, actually, students don't call themselves. They don't have prefixes.
Yeah.
So
This is the first time I've ever seen it.
awesome.
Was on here. Yeah. Thank you for letting us know.
Thank you. It really does. It makes me feel less like a moron. So this idea of having a why is not necessarily new, right? Especially since Simon Sinek's book Start With Why. And if you've not watched that, or at least read it, or at least watched the TED Talk, it's really incredible. But a student why, I think, is so important for us to know as individuals. And so our school, our why was we created, or it was created before I got there. I wasn't part of this, but I participated in the system, was to help Black and brown males to get to college and beyond. So it wasn't enough that we just sent kids off to college. I worked at a school before in Camden, New Jersey. Our goal was to get kids to college, but the matriculation rate was atrocious. Most kids just ended up dropping out and having thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars worth of student debt that they then had to work out of while working the midnight shift at Amazon or wherever. So our school did a lot of work in the really good years to try and help students that were in college stay there. And that looked like a whole lot of things. I think it's bigger than that. I think it is it's really getting clear on what are we doing anyway? Like, what are we doing as a team to, like, what is our part in raising young people and helping young people? And I really think that it is helping kids lead a life that they feel led, that they feel excited, that is successful. But kids have to describe that, right? But we don't have enough of that conversation. It's like it ends at, it's like to get to college and beyond, great, but what's that beyond piece? Like, what are we working on there? And so we often have these conversations. I heard this on a podcast the other day. Someone put it like this, around like soft skills, right? But it turns out soft skills are a whole lot more important. They're not even soft. Like, it's such a ridiculous term that we're referring to things like rigor, like grit, and looking at like even that. To go on a little bit of a tangent, the idea of kids having grit is so absurd to me, where I know my kids where I taught had grit, right? Like when someone you love gets shot and you show up to school the next day, bro, that's grit. It's just like they don't have math grit though. The academic piece isn't there. But so I think if I rewind myself, why are we even doing this? That's a deep question. And that's something that we need to come up with. And maybe that's just the people on here, maybe, but it needs to be the people in your school ultimately. But if you don't have that, it's why are we doing it? Because I want kids to live a life that they dream of. I want kids to have all they desire. All that, for me, it's all that God has for you and nothing more. But like, I want you to live a life of plenty, but there's a way to do that. And there's a way not to do that. And so right now, what we're doing is not the be all end all, right? We are getting kids started on the right track. We are helping to plant seeds, but then we have to water and fertilize those seeds going forward. And so how are we as an educational system doing that? Are we doing that by putting objectives on the board and forcing kids to carry binders that have no validity, except for it looks like they're doing really important stuff? Or are we actually doing really important stuff? Are we creating spaces and places for kids to grow into this full human being in partnership with their community, meaning with their families, with their friends, with the other stakeholders in the neighborhoods they live in, and us as being a part of that mixture? That to me is like, when we can get on that level, now we're talking something different. But too often I think it all seems to fall on teachers, and because either folks are not equipped. I mean, I've called parents that were not equipped. I've called parents that told me, I said, like, here's some behaviors I'm seeing exhibiting in my classroom. I want to talk to you about it. And they're like, listen, and a mom told me one time, I deal with him all day and night. This is your time to deal with him. Bro, what? I'm sorry. Come again? Like, I'm not even blaming. I'm just trying to, like, but folks, when we're raising adults that have not process, that have gone through the stuff. So
I was gonna say that mom is probably the same as their child, right?
fault her for
with
5 seconds.
No, dealing with your own trauma.
You are entering into this conversation with what you have.
Yeah,
you can't
facts.
enter into the conversation with what you don't have.
Well, you can't enter in being a different person than who you are already, right? Like you
So
can't,
I just,
and
in
even
that
the
moment, I
teacher
realized,
should never even expect that parent to have a certain reaction.
and is that
like,
sad? Yes. Is it disappointing? Yes.
Yes.
Does it fall back now more on me? And I feel like, oh, son of a gun, I thought I had a partner and I don't. Yes. But ultimately, you know, it is working on you and working with other folks to come up with what is the reason. And I think the reason is very simple. It is education is only ever about students. And what we're trying to do is help kids live a life that is sick, like help them to find success and then reach that success that they want to have.
Yeah, they also mentioned it saying, and is college even a great goal for many?
No,
right? And
it's not. I'm going to tell you right now. I taught at all college prep school. The admin would constantly over the years get mad that kids weren't trying to do like work hard so they could get to college. But I'm like, what if they don't need college? College isn't even for it's to me, it's like, let's take it a step wider, right?
What do you want to do?
What do you want to do? Right. And then like I wanted to be a teacher. I cannot teach without going unless I want to teach. Like I'm sure there are a handful of schools and I don't know how successful they are. Yeah, I'm sure I could just there are situations now. You don't even need a degree
to teach anymore, apparently.
Yeah. But
oh yeah.
But it is like certain things you need to go to college for. And I mean, that's a big question. It's like, because I don't do backup plans. So like when kids are like, well, I want to do this as a backup plan. I'm like, bro, just go full tilt, like burn the boats and take the island. Like we're not doing backup plans. And maybe that's a bigger conversation and that's a little naive. However, it is helping kids dream out an entire life, not a job.
I love
what is the life you want to live? And then how do we achieve that? And then helping kids real quick to level that life up. I don't know. Are you dreaming too small? Like
right.
Maybe you're good with that, right? Maybe you're good with that because you came from such a tumultuous beginning, but like, how can we level you up and take you there?
Yeah. Gosh, I love Trish is one of my favorites because she's always talking about literacy, and I love that. And she says, if we say that we care about marginalized kids, then how come this system hasn't even made sure those kids can read and write? And facts. I'm like, facts. Oh gosh.
When in Pennsylvania, we're not required to test for dyslexia.
She also says, shouldn't we worry about declining literacy across this country rather than worrying about the evils of capitalism? I mean, I don't know.
No.
So both are bad.
It is. I don't want to take away from someone else's stuff, but look.
But there are big issues in education.
When we look at the educational system, what are we doing? We're creating buyers, right? And so like, make more so you can spend more instead of like. But I think there's something deeper that's a much bigger conversation. I'm more than happy to have that conversation, but that's not the question.
Video.
That's not the question that was
training. Asked. Okay, let's move on. Carol is asking, she's been waiting for her question. She's asking, what kind of activities do you do that involve students manipulating themselves? Walk the room gallery walk, or an item using art supplies, Legos, Minecraft?
I'll give a couple examples. I've done a lot of these. We used to do use clay a lot in class to like create instead of like drawing characters and then like you'd like, you know how like you'd like draw a character and then like make a list of like their character traits and things of that nature, a description of where they are, that kind of thing. We did that. It's fine. Instead, I transferred that to making Pokemon cards about different people. So like all the monsters that exist in the Odyssey, kids had to make Pokemon cards for them. And there was a template for that. And we made that. And then there was another one that transformed into building things out of clay. So making those monsters and characters out of clay. Clay is a nightmare though, unless you have the classroom for it. Like I'm talking about brown clay that like the art teacher just gave me like a big sack of clay. And it was like, no, horrible idea. Everyone got clay all over the clothes. It was under their fingernails. It was dried out everyone's hands. It was a nightmare. But we found that Play-Doh was just as effective. It just doesn't last very long. You can't fire it or anything. But to go to the dollar store and buy Play-Doh was far more cost effective.
What about modeling
and not
clay?
messy.
Like air dry modeling clay?
I didn't know about that stuff then. I feel like that's a little bit expensive. But if you can get your school to front you money, that's one of those things you go to like Michael's or Hobby Lobby and you have like the coupon code. They give you 40% off. And the way we do it in our family, it's like
CJ gets in line, I get in line, Marley gets in line.
We're like, all right, listen, we don't know each other. Everybody take a product in your coupon code. We're getting in line because dad needs stuff for school. That's how we roll. Or asking even for these things for free, going to a store saying, this is where I work. Is there anything you can do to help me out? And oftentimes stores will give you stuff for free. I've said this a million times.
It is. You have to just ask before you spend your money.
Just ask. Hey, look, I teach elementary school at the school around the corner. I'm buying this stuff on my own. I was just curious if the store had any sort of policy where they could help me out, whether it's a discount or like, do you give stuff away for free? Is there like, what's the deal?
Tons. I forget who I was talking to in a store, and they said they partnered with local schools around. I had no idea. Like it's all local in our area. And I was like, oh, look at that. Like it just reminded me that same idea of like, nope, you got to ask. You have to like look into
Pat Croce, he says.
I know. If you don't ask, the answers already know.
Yep, facts. So the other two that I'm thinking of real quick is when we do the Odyssey in the beginning of the year, I give them the very short, brief version of the Odyssey. And that game is you have to follow me around the school and do every single thing that I do and try and keep up. And then I just walk really fast for about 10 minutes. I jump over railings. We go down steps. We go back up steps. We go down hallways. We walk backwards. We jump from one thing to another. It is like it's like old man parkour for about 10 minutes because that's what following a leader in the time of Odysseus was like. You had to just do what they did. If you're going into battle, even if we're going to lose, even if we know everyone's going to get eaten by this monster, you got to do it. And so that turns into a much larger conversation and that stuff. But like in short, that's what it is. But I find that getting kids out of their seats, out of the classroom, not every day. I mean, there are some that like, I don't have the book here. I had it in the other room. My friend, who am I thinking of? Becky Schnexer wrote a book called Expedition Science. And she never has her kids inside, like almost never. They go outside in the rain. And so they have like rain jackets and pants and things to cover kids' sneaks so they don't get messed up, and like things to cover kids' hair that, you know, if your hair can't get wet and stuff, like they're just outside all the time, like living science, and not just looking in a book. So yeah, her stuff's incredible. She's actually, we're going to do that video. She's stoked to do it. Yeah. So I'll explain.
Yeah, you can let everyone know.
I made a video recently in conjunction with Samsung that came out last week about creating immersive experiences for students. And I got a lot of comments about how do you do this for science and math. And so my friend Becky and I are going to make a video. We're planning it out now and shooting it together so we can talk about some of those immersive experiences and how science and math teachers might do that in like and she teaches at a school with no budget. It's in a city too. So it's not like it's not like she's in the country and it's like, oh man, we're in Vancouver and there's redwoods and magic all over the place. Vancouver's fantastic for that.
I want to read a comment real fast that someone said, there's a type of plastic pellet that you can buy, heat and water, then mold however you want it. She says you have to have a source of hot water though.
Really?
Mm-hmm. So I asked what it was. I don't think she's.
I would love to know what that was. That sounds awesome.
Macaroni Magpie. What's your secret?
Wait.
Yes, that's her. We need your address as well.
Did you tell her?
No. Why don't you go
real quick. There were a number of people. We need to have you contact us because you won something from us in the last few weeks. So those folks that are winners that we need to hear from, I think all these people we didn't hear from yet.
No, we did not.
It is Shayna Gherkin, Jacob Ingram, Macaroni Magpie, Stephanie Keel, that's Kiel, and Miss Parham's class. Please shoot us an email, realrapwithreynolds@gmail.com, or you can just go right to our website, and I'm going to pull it up right now, babe. Go right there, and there's like a contact us. You can just hit us up there. But we have stuff for you. Come get some free stuff. So again, that was Shayna Gherkin, Jacob Ingram, Macaroni Magpie, Stephanie Keel, that's Kiel, and Mrs. Parham's class. Hit us up and we'll send you some free stuff.
Yay. All right. Next question is coming from Sophia asking, I'm struggling with being split between my two schools, especially since one is going so well and the other is not. I'm constantly anxious. Any advice going into both schools positively? So she's split between two different. She goes to
Yeah.
different. I feel
Well,
like
I think she's a music teacher, and so a lot of
Yeah.
times, like I remember our music teachers and art and phys ed, they were between 3 schools when I was in elementary school. Gosh, that's a tough one. I mean, it is. How do you navigate that anxiety feeling?
it's like first period going really well and eighth period
Yeah,
being terrible.
yeah.
in
I
your
think
day.
one, I think part. Oh gosh, this is a tough question because I feel like I need a bit more information to really like answer it to the best of my ability. But I would say in general, when I have a class like last year, my second period was man, they were tough. It was a tough class. But eighth period was a dream. I mean, and they weren't even all good kids. But you know how sometimes you have kids that are a pain in your butt, but you're kind of like, it's the difference between a stinker and a kid that's a pain in your butt. That's what it is. It's like, man, it's just like they say inappropriate stuff, but it was just so damn funny that you're just like, oh man. So I loved it. So one of those was relishing in that. It's letting that class know, like, yo, look, I love this class, man. Like, I don't have every class like this. And I just want y'all to know that we got something special here. This feels great. I love teaching this class. I love that you guys, so thank you so much for being here. Telling the kids in that school, like really filling them up with that kind of stuff. And then I think the other class, it's really dissecting and figuring out like, what is it that they're doing that bothers you? And is it something that can be changed? If it's not, then that's, you know, we got to figure out how we're going to deal with something that we can't change, right? That means like, do I stay there? If that's an option, how much mind share am I going to give this? How much worry am I going to put into this? So like when you have a student that is, you've tried everything, you've contacted everything, you've done all the work, they still need to be a willing participant in their own education and their own healing, right? Anyone that goes to therapy that doesn't want to talk isn't going to get healed. They're not going to, I was going to say therapy, but that's not a word. So it is, you need to be a willing participant. And so when we're doing all that we can do, right? You need to be a willing participant. And if you're not, then guess what? My engagement's going to go down also. Because I'm not going to sit here and spin plates and juggle fire if no one's even paying attention to me. I'd rather just like, I don't know, juggle something that won't burn my eyebrows off. So, and look, I've had those classes where like you try everything and the majority of your class isn't doing it. You know what I do? I've taught to the kids that want to. I'm designing lessons that you guys are going to get excited about, that y'all are going to like get stoked about. And then I don't plan for the other students. And I tell them, look, I didn't give up on you. But I'm saying like, look, if y'all are just going to talk the whole time, if you're not going to do anything, if you're going to come to class so wildly stoned that you can't even engage if you wanted to. And I've called mom, I've told the nurse, I've told the principal, I've told the board, and no one's doing anything about it. What am I going to do? Right. So I'm teaching the students that I can teach. And guess what? When you need it, when you want it, when you come back to life, come talk to me. And I'm willing to do anything that I can, but I can't be everything for every kid. So I think to some degree, and even though that's disheartening, and even though that it can be like a depressing, right? To know that like you have a class coming in, it's giving where you can give. And you can't feed people that don't show up for dinner. And so it is coming to terms with that. And if that's still a really big, heavy burden, I just think, look, something we don't talk about enough, but I 100% believe in, is maybe talking to someone about that, talking to someone about what is that's touching inside of you. Now, whether that be a therapist or a counselor or just a trusted friend, what are some of those things inside of you that are being touched that you might not, that might be hitting something in you, triggering something in you. And that's more of the issue than just the kids, like not being willing participants in their own education.
Absolutely. Okay. Up next is Park Strake asking, how do you personally prioritize best when it seems like everything is labeled as important? Lots of things to do, and evidently many things are a priority. Before you even answer this, I just want to say, gosh, you say this all the time.
I do.
We do. This is one of, I don't know if CJ can actually answer this one because this is his biggest gripe too. Like he struggles. This is a struggle area for you when
like just as an insight into like what we do, there's so many different branches of what we do, like 7 different arms, and each one of those arms literally needs a team to help run it, and
Yeah.
it's so overwhelming, and every single one of them is important. And that's been the hardest part with like doing this full time, is like figuring out and how to organize and how to when everything's a priority.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. Let's get real about this, and I'm going to be
Because we're trying to figure that one out too.
overly vulnerable on this one. As much as I talk about this idea of like that, even though I don't really believe in work-life balance, it is this it's finding a harmony in your rhythms, right? And all the California people right there were like, yeah, man. All the New York people were like, screw that, let's go. So
right?
I know
Like,
we're from
harmony.
the East Coast. We're not good on harmony. We're good at driving through the problem. And so I think that in finding harmony in your rhythms, what that means is that you have this flow in your life where, like, you know, not all things are balanced. I don't sleep as much as I like. That's really, really important to me. But like, I don't spend equal time sleeping, equal time with my kids, equal time at work, equal time with my friends. It's like, you know, it gives me like, I think the calculation I did was like, it's like 8% of your day given to everything. That's absurd. I need more sleep than I need time with my friends. Like, so, and I don't have any, I love my friends. I don't have a friend in the world that I could be like, yo, 8 hours, let's do this. Like, I think you'd be like, all right, man, we're 3 hours in. I'm ready to dip.
Well, on friend day, when I hang out with my friend, like it's usually like 3 hours is good.
Yeah. You're just like, all right.
You feel the conversation dwindling after 3 hours. It's like, okay, see you.
Going home playing video games. So, the thing that with all that I say about that, and it's all the putting things on my calendar and the date nights and the Frank times and all the stuff, it is still incredibly difficult for me, especially now that I'm working for myself. I find myself on many days working like 12 to 14 hour days. And that's just not healthy. But I know that I'm in the beginning stages of this, right? So just like when I was a new teacher, I had to put in a whole lot more time than a lot of those vets did. And the vets are starting the first day of school and they're like, all right, let's go. This is going to be great. And you're like, you're like feel like your face is going to melt off because it's hard.
And that's what this feels like.
That's what this feels like. I'm starting this somewhat new venture full time. And there's a level of anxiety that comes with that of like, man, I got to pay my bills. I need health insurance. I got to like make sure that I can pay my mortgage. Like these are real things that I'm not getting a paycheck every 2 weeks. This is why I'm talking about this, is because school can often feel like that too, where there's so much important stuff that needs to be done. And if you're not doing it, you're going to get in trouble. You're going to get fired. You're a failure. Everybody else is doing it. And why am I not doing it? There's all this stuff.
Yeah, just all the stuff even in your head.
I'm
whether
living,
if it's true or not.
I'm living that right now. Where I'm finding it incredibly difficult to take time off because I think I could be building this thing. So here's on my best days, Parks, how I deal with that. It is literally allocating time to any given thing. And then the peace that gives me is incredible. So the other day, I love Post-it notes, even though they're the bane of my existence because they end up 9,000 Post-it notes all over the place. I use Trello, Trello. I'm not affiliated with them, but it's a really great site and it's free. Trello allows me to make to-do lists. It is long-term projects. Then there's things that are marked to do. You can change your own label so you don't have to put it, but it's very simple. Then it's doing, and then it's done, right? And then I have another thing that my assistant made for me that's long, like ongoing projects, right? So like my newsletter comes out once a month. Whatever else is long-term. So the beauty of this is that on my desktop, I just drag it from one thing to the other. So from to do to doing, and then when it's done to done. And this, I get great satisfaction off dragging things over to the done file. Sometimes the to do is too many things. So the first thing I do is I talk to my wife and I say, here's all the things I have to do today. What do you think? Like give me some input. Not that her word is just gold, but like give me some input. My wife will then share what she thinks are the actual non-negotiables or the most important things today to get done. And then what I was doing last week was writing them on a Post-it note and putting a time next to them. So for emails every day, which I'm very, very, like, I'm not good at doing emails. It is putting 30 minutes, and then I literally pick up my phone and set a timer for 30 minutes. And then that's all I do. I put in AirPods, I put on a playlist. I'm not picking songs. I'm not screwing around. I'm not finding a radio station. It is a playlist that helps me zone in more than anything else. For 30 minutes, I do emails, right? Then non-negotiable. I can do more emails later if I want. I have to go on to building the next project or answering the next thing or solving the next problem. And that gets a time. Maybe it's 30 minutes, maybe it's 60 minutes. But by the end of the day, when I do that regularly, I never reach the mountaintop, but I get to the next level, right? I feel like I can look back and go, we got somewhere. We're like, look at all those tracks in the snow. And so to me, that's what it is. It's identifying what's actually important today. And then it's setting a time for all those things. Because look, one of my mentors, I met him once actually my whole life. This guy, Wayne Dyer, used to say, he would say like, make a deal with yourself. So he said this one time they moved, they had all these cardboard boxes in the garage. And he was like, they just sat there for weeks because I just saw these. There's hundreds of boxes. I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to go out there and unfold or fold up boxes so that the moving company could come pick them up. So he said, one day I made a deal with myself and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go out and do 5 of them. That's it. 5 boxes and then I'm done. So he said, I went out and did 5. And then I asked myself, can I do 5 more or do I want to stop? I get to choose right now. And he said, so I did 5 more. And then I did 5 more. And he goes, and in 2 hours, I did the whole thing. Now, look, whether or not you do the whole thing, there's a sense of satisfaction in doing the 5 boxes or doing 10 boxes. And I think that the rest of life isn't so different. That it's like, if you have dishes to wash or clothes to wash or lawn to mow, it's like, and even though it'll look weird, can I mow half my lawn right now? Right? It's kind of funny too, like mow half your lawn. But that's how I enter into some of those issues and find solutions for them.
I think the hardest parts is that you're right. Everything is literally a priority,
especially with school.
Yeah.
Right. And even in business.
Yep.
Everybody wants their email back right now. And it's like, bro,
Yep.
I'm speaking for 4 days out of town. I come home, I got 97. It's a lot.
But so my bigger point was to say, like, everything is a priority and everything is important. I think it comes down for me, because I feel that way too. It's just crazy, the pressure that we feel from all of it. And I think some of it's self-pressure of like,
yeah.
I just have to think like, yeah, I'll get to it. I'm only human,
Yeah.
right? You can only get to so much. And it comes down to that. One, you have to listen to yourself and how you're feeling, and you can only do as much as you have the capacity for. Then the other part is shifting and going, what's the most important thing today? Like, what's on the to-do list? I work backwards. Like, if it's due today, that's what I'm working on. If it's due, I know. I work backwards.
I'm laughing because that drives me insane when you're like, oh wait, the water sewer bill's due today, let's go pay. I'm like, wait,
no, I'm not that bad, but like,
sent it to us 7 weeks ago.
But I do no, but when you have to, I'm talking about when you have to figure out your day and like do like, okay, well, what am I going to do today? You have to look at, I think it works with like, what's the most important thing and what's on fire that you have to get off your plate like immediately. Those are the things that I do.
Yeah.
And that's how I organize my day. You can only do, there's only so much in a day you can do.
Yeah, there is.
All right. Brooke is up next asking, how do you tell your kids you're leaving during the school year? I'm heartbroken and I want to do it the best way I can.
Brooke, this is one of my next videos coming out. I made it at the end of last year, just after I decided that I was not going back to my school. And I made it with at least one other teacher, if not 2. I have 2 videos coming out. One is what worked last year. Last year wasn't a total wash, a total loss. There's tons of stuff that worked.
That's a funny thing. I think people think that your year was like you left because it was the kids or it was like awful or whatever. Yeah. And it's like, no, the school was on fire and a dumpster fire. Literally, your classroom was still okay.
Yeah. It was kind of like, look, the year ended in a train wreck, but the ride was really fun in a lot of ways. Like, it was like there were parties on the train and then we crashed, right? Yeah. So like, and we saw it coming, but it was like, all right, let's.
Well, the interesting thing apart is the video that's coming out with you and your other teacher.
With Flounders, yeah.
Yeah, she was there the longest in the school.
She was the first employee ever hired by the school.
You and her, well, what people won't know, and I'll tell people, is you and her had to like tell each other like, yes, we're leaving at the end of it. Remember, it sucks. Like,
Yeah.
remember, it's
'Cause
terrible.
we
Remember,
both
we're
kept
off
going
mission.
back. We were like,
Yeah.
all right, I think this year's over. I think our time here is done. Like, all the signs are pointing to exit now. And then we'd go, and then after, like, if we had a good weekend, we'd be like, I was thinking,
It's not so bad.
I don't think I'm going to leave. And then you'd have a train wreck of a day, and you're like, I think I'm done. And then it was
The two of you,
us.
like, back and forth. It literally took both of you all year to make the decision. Like, yeah.
Even now, when we see each other,
I
we're like,
know.
did we make? It's like there are days when you're like, did we make the right decision? So
what do you say?
that's
as
one
she's
video,
doing that
and then
now?
the other one. So it's one is how do you tell your students that you're leaving, and then the other one is how do you like what worked last year also. So I think in short, look, I talked to someone about this yesterday that I did a mentor call with. There's always going to be a class that's your last. You could teach for 40 years, and there's going to be a group of kids that love you, that don't want you to leave. What are you supposed to do? Add on another 4 years and another 4 years, and like as a high school teacher, I'm thinking 4-year increments because I teach freshmen, and then the students are all like, "Can't you just stay to like graduate, bro? That's 4 more years." There's always going to be a class that's the end, and it's about letting kids know ultimately that you love them, that you care about them, that you'll always be there for them. And so my students have and this, look, I'm not saying anyone has to do what I do. Like, I realize it's a little crazy. It is, some kids have my number. Some kids have my Instagram. I mean, I'm a public figure on social media. So like they can DM me, they can hit me up in a number of ways. I still go back to football games or to events that I can. And so that's part of it. But then it's ultimately knowing that you're saying goodbye to something, but you're saying hello to something else, right? Wherever you're going, there will be people there that need you. There'll be students there that need you. And I swear to you, when I left Camden, it was heartbreaking. Romina, who wrote the opening to my book.
That was your first school that you had to leave. I mean, you've only ever left
kids
that.
Cried when I told her. I remember telling Shayla, and she just started crying. And I was like, oh no, oh, don't do this. Don't do this to me. Like, I need you to be strong right now.
I know.
But I knew in 10 minutes of being in my new school with students, oh, this is why I'm here. This kid needs me to show up. Like, or students that just come up and start talking to you and interacting with you, and you're like, oh, this is everywhere. No matter where you teach, kids need good teachers. So show up and be present. And so as hard as it is to say goodbye, that showing up process. And look, now Romina comes to my house all the friggin' time, and buys my kids Krispy Kreme donuts and all kinds of other stuff that's going to make them sick.
Oh, are you waiting for me?
I am. Let's do one more.
Oh, yes.
I mean, we got time today, but I just want to respect people's time too. I know.
And
there's no Eagles game today. I want to end.
There's a really
Phillies
good one.
won again last night. I mean,
we did not watch that game, and it ended like
they won 10-6.
I know.
Yeah,
we should have watched the game.
Yeah, we watched it. Then you fall asleep on the couch.
I do.
And then I'm like, this lonely, and I can't cheer. I'm like,
you can wake me up. I don't care. Okay. Will is asking, how can I build a relationship with other teachers who don't take me seriously because of my age? I am 23 and I am constantly looked down on by other educators at my school.
So Will, one, I'm noticing your profile picture there. Do you know who that is, Johnny?
No, it's an anime.
I believe that is Naruto. Because Ham used to wear
that
headband, and it was metal on the front. And I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, he'd tell me I'm Black Naruto, and I'm like, I don't even know what you're saying right now. And the only reason I know is because I had to go home and like look it up.
Yes.
Because Ham would just talk about it all the time. I'm like, I have no idea. And not that I'm going to go watch the show, but I had to have a sense of what he was talking about. Well, here's the thing. One of my favorite sayings of all time, it is a quote that I love dearly, is by Steve Martin, the comic, right? Who coincidentally has a really great show on Hulu right now. We start watching. It's called Only Murders in the Building.
Oh yeah,
right?
It's actually really great.
Awesome. If you need escape from your reality, that is the show for right now. It's the best show I've seen since Ted Lasso.
No, Hacks.
Hacks was a great show too, but Ted Lasso was.
That's your favorite. Yeah.
Oh gosh, love it. Makes you want to grow a mustache.
Oh God, please no.
Steve Martin said, "Be so good they can't ignore you." And so I think that is part of the move, Will, is not focusing on, it's almost like, look, I'm from Philly. Like, we love underdogs in Philadelphia. It is, I mean, it's the land of like the Eagles winning the Super Bowl several years ago and Rocky. It is this idea of noting where you are. And I realize that, look, we're not doing things so that we get accolades. We're not doing stuff so people pat us on the back, but it's hard when people are actively not treating you as an equal or thinking down about who you are and what you're about. I understand that. But how good can you make your class that your students are going to love it every day? My publisher, my friend Dave Burgess, says, how many of your classes do you have a year that you could sell tickets to? Like, think about that. What are you doing in class that you could sell tickets to? And so I don't have a lot of them. That's not every day, right? But there's like at least 4 classes where I'm going to be real with you. There's about 4 classes a year that I'm like, yo, dude, show up to school today because we're doing this thing. So how could you work on you so you become the best you can be, and then work on your class so your class can become the best that you can be? So you're singularly focused on that outcome, and then in doing that work, you will grow, you will get better, and in getting better, how can you be so good that no one can deny? It's just like, yo, Buckingham is like on fire. Like, I don't even know what's happening in that class. His kids are great. This class is great. His energy is contagious and infectious, and is like, I think that's what it is. But that's going to take some extra like motivation from you. One of my heroes, I already quoted him today, this guy, Pat Croce. Pat Croce was the former owner of the Philadelphia 76ers. And Pat Croce said that he would give people sonic boom hellos. Sorry, that went down the wrong way. Sonic boom hellos. So if you say hi to someone in the hallway, hey, what's up, man? Hey, how you doing? I had a principal once that used to, I don't think he liked me. He would just ignore me every single day, even though I said hi to him. So it'd be me and my buddy, Mr. Hasty, standing in the hallway, and Hasty would say hello, and my man would say hi back to Hasty. I'd say hello, and he wouldn't say anything. So I'd go, yo, Hasty, watch. He's not saying hi to me. So no doubt, dude would walk by every day on his way to wherever he was going. I'd say, hey, how you doing today? And then he wouldn't say anything. And Hasty was like, yo, it's crazy. And I'm like, yo, watch. Tomorrow, I'm giving the sonic boom hello.
Hilarious.
Right? This is the sonic boom hello. Sonic boom hello is I'm going to smack you in the face with love, not literally, figuratively, with so much love and excitement that you cannot, you have to acknowledge me. You have to. So the next day they come down the hallway, yo, everybody give it up. What's up, man? How are you today? I'm looking forward to a great day. And I hope that you have the most special day ever. They can't say no to that. Now, that's not everyone's jam. I'm not expecting everybody on here to go in and start sonic boom helloing everyone. But you can sonic boom your class. You can sonic boom your personality. You can sonic boom the way you dress, the way that your classroom looks, the way that it smells, the way that it sounds. You can sonic boom how you show up to a meeting, and you're showing up and saying hello to everyone and making everyone feel loved and welcome and cared for and seen. You can sonic boom all kinds of stuff. So when you start doing that, it makes it really hard for someone to look at you and think that you're not doing enough or that you're less than them. And even if they still do, that's on them now, because you're sonic boom in life. And that if somebody else doesn't want to get down with that, then that's not someone I want to get down with anyway, right? I had a real issue in high school where I only liked, this might make you laugh or it might make you identify with it. I only liked girls that were the toughest, 10th grade.
CJ likes them a little
Sat next
saucy.
to this girl, Liz, right? She had a tattoo on her neck. This is in 1993. No one had a tattoo on their neck, right? I loved her. Oh my gosh. She sat next to me in English class, and every day I was like, oh my gosh. I looked like young Justin Bieber, and she looked like
you're cracking
she was in like Orange is the New Black with a tattoo on her neck. But that led to me trying to figure people out. Like, how do I break through? How do I get Liz to laugh at me? Now, Liz, she got pregnant that year with some other dude's baby, and I wasn't about that. I wasn't trying to raise some kid, so I had to let Liz go. But even you, wife, you were a tough one.
Oh, I can get saucy. We keep it nice and PG on here.
But that is part of the draw, right? So I see those moments, but then if I see someone that I can't, the challenge, like they're not participating in the same game I am, I just move on. I find people that are also doing sonic boom living, and that's who I bang with.
Yeah, it's kind of it's hard if you don't find your people in your like if you don't have that community within your school, like the teacher community, I think find it online at least. Like, and I'm grateful that we can
It's the beauty
provide
of
that
social
for
media.
some of it.
That's the beauty of
Yeah.
social. There's a lot of toxicity in social
Mm.
media, but finding your folks. Seth Godin said that people like us do things like this. It's being with your people. That doesn't exclude anyone, right? Except for folks that don't want to get down. You don't want to dance in my party. You don't want to come to my party. Then don't. I'm not going to change you come to my party. I want you to show up, but we're really trying to get after it and do work.
Okay, I have two really great questions on here. Do you want to ask?
Yeah, let's
answer
do it.
them? Okay.
Do
It's a two-parter. Part one, I have a child with obvious ADD, but mom is always surprised when I have to speak with her about his highly impulsive behavior, both verbal and physical.
Yeah.
How do I explain it to her that can help her understand his needs for consistent strategies, consequences at home too?
So, Marie, I don't think that you do talk about it with mom. I think that you go to the special education department, you talk to the school counselor, you talk to the school administration, and you talk to your team at your school. This needs to be a collective effort because, look, I'll tell you, as a parent that has a child with ADHD, severe ADHD, where I constantly have to go, Brody, bro, over here.
And he's not
There we
on
go.
meds. So
Yeah.
like at home when we homeschool, it's very, very hard.
It's
like
stream of consciousness all the
and
time.
it requires a straight one-on-one.
But when he started going on meds, it was one of the, I want to say top 5 terrifying moments of my life. Cause because some of the meds made him depressed. They made him anxious. He didn't want to leave the house. His hands would sweat all the time. And he was just going like
it's
this.
hard.
It was hard to watch your kid. It's a hard thing to accept that your child is less than perfect.
Well, and not only that, I don't even think it's that. I want to play a little bit of the other side here.
Please.
Because I think that, look, I have a child with extreme ADHD, but for something that I didn't know about myself as a mom and as a parent, as once I became a parent, like you then start to learn about yourself as a parent. I'm learning about my own parenting as I'm growing and parenting my children. One of the things that I learned about myself by having a child with ADHD is that I have ADD, like, and it's pretty severe. Like the fact that I can't, it's hard for me to complete things. We have conversations and you're going, yo, we both do. Our whole house is like, and nobody's medicated. So CJ's always going, yo, Ad, like stick to what we're talking about. Like, and I try, but it's so that mom might not even know that she has the same issue is what I'm trying to say. Like, you only learn it through having the kiddo that has the issue, right? You might see some of that and go, oh, that's me too. So, and I think legally, like you're not even allowed to like recommend or say like, hey, I think suspectedly like your child has ADHD. So you can come at it with I don't think you can ever say like these things directly because you're not a doctor.
Like, I wasn't allowed to tell parents that I'm
or dyslexic, right? You can't say any of those.
But you can work with your team to try and communicate.
Well, you can also
in such a healthy
ask
way.
in curiosity, say like, "Hey, I'm just wondering, have you noted these things about Tommy that does X, Y, and Z?"
Yeah.
But if they don't see anything from your email and like they don't respond and say like, "Oh yeah, I see these things too. What could we do?" Like if your curiosity doesn't prompt a conversation, then your only avenue is the school.
And then I think that becomes a conversation with the school about, well, if this child's not on medication, then what are some of the things that we're willing to do as a community to help them? Can we get a stand-up desk? Can we get a wobble board? Can we get fidgets? Can they
stand in the back room?
Like what are we doing that's going to help that kid? And students, even though if they don't know they have that label of having ADHD,
yes, they know that they have difficulty focusing. Yes.
And you showing up to care for them and to give them that sort of like level of like, we're seeing you and this is what the efforts that we're making to help you, I think goes a really far way to kids too.
Yeah. Okay. The other question, and we're going to end on a fun question because Justine said, can we end on a fun Halloween?
Oh, you got it.
She's got one, but I want to answer Katie's because I think this is an important question. She says, how do you have honest conversations with students without putting too much on them, having a hard convo this week and want to maintain proper boundaries, but also be honest?
I think it comes with, look, I've said this many, many times before, but our life, I think you can draw a line from where you are to the success that you want to have is based largely on difficult conversation. whether that's a difficult conversation. Like, think about it, right? Like, if you want to lose weight, you have to have a difficult conversation with yourself about your weight. If you want to make more money, if you want to have a better relationship with your spouse or with your kids or with your admin, you have to learn how to have hard conversations with yourself and with others. And there's a direct line between that and being successful in anything. That being said, I think that it comes from a place of care. Now, look, you could be, I'm put you on blast right now, mother-in-law. My mother-in-law does this thing where she says,
She might be watching.
She'll be like,
listening.
I know. She'll say, God bless someone, and then say something that is not always nice about them, right? So she'll be.
Oh, you really harping my mom.
She does. Doesn't she do this all the time? God bless that baby. It's not very pretty. So you can't just sprinkle God on it, and all of a sudden you can say whatever you want.
No, I'm telling her that you said this about her on the podcast.
No. Look, and I love her with all of my heart. Literally, she's wonderful. So I think there are people that are like, look, they can fake that. You know, it's like the old, like, you broke up with someone, you're like, it's not you, it's me. And then you tell them a whole bunch of horrible crap about themselves. But it is being there, letting them know that why you're saying this is because you care for them, that you want them to be successful, that you love them, however you want to have that language. But then the bigger part, Katie, is that you have to follow up. It's the following up with love and care and support that often people don't do. They say, right, like, you can take this to really big things. Like, you know, I remember when my mom got diagnosed with lung cancer, stage 4 lung cancer, her friends were like, we'll be there for you. It's going to be so great. Guess who was there in like 3 weeks? Nobody. No one. It was me and my aunt and my wife, then girlfriend, that took care of my mom the whole time that she was sick. And so it's, are you really going to be about it? And then you have to think, Katie, how are you going to show them that you're still being about it? Not that you have to show up and keep rehashing the hard conversation, but just showing up and having a kind word, saying something supportive, saying something nice, offering some help on something, just being there and really being about it. That's the part that folks lose. Have difficult conversations, even if your voice shakes when you're having it and you're scared to death. Have the conversation, but then know that the real support comes not in just having the conversation, but having the follow-up to do that and really being about it. That's how I would address that.
I have a question, though, a follow-up for that one.
Please.
Is there any way in the conversation to be honest when you're speaking to a young person that is still figuring out life in themselves? Is there a way to say what you need to say without like crapping on them?
I think sometimes,
or
honestly,
is the crap on
I
them
like smiling.
kind of like a little bit
I think
needed?
smiling eases it. I go, bro, we gotta have a conversation. Look, and this is not even the easy one, right? But you know, more than anything, I love you. I know not everyone likes to use the L word with their students, but I love you. I only want the best for you. I want you to have the life that you dream of. But if we're going to get to that life, we need to know that there's some things right now that are getting in your way, and you're one of them. And we need to unpack that so I can tell you some of the things I'm noticing, not accusatory, being observant and curious. These are some things that I'm noticing, and I need to know if you're noticing them also, so that we can work together to come up with a plan to help you be successful. And you need to know that even after this conversation, you got me. I got you for the rest of your life, bro. Like, and so that's how I enter into those. And it's like, it comes from a place where it's not like this cold-hearted, dark, look, we have to talk about something. It's just not working out this way. It is from a place of optimism and love. It's from a place of optimism because I know we can get there. I know all we got to do is handle this hurdle, and we got it. And so that's a different way to enter into the conversation of like, yo, look, we got to note this problem so we can work on it together to come to a solution so that we are both winning in this scenario. So that's it.
All right.
A fun question.
I do. This is it. Well, I said I had two.
Those are good questions. So
yeah, there were
real
two really
Thank
good
you very
questions.
much.
That's why I wanted to bring them up. Okay. So Justine is asking, haunted houses, yay or nay? I know this answer. It's a big old nay.
There is a place in Philadelphia called Eastern State Penitentiary. My great-grandfather worked there as a prison guard. That's a whole long conversation.
It's very cool and spooky in its own right.
Yeah, it is now just a tourist attraction, but during Halloween, they have an incredibly, to me,
not scary to me,
horrifying life altering in a negative way experience that you can walk through. Many years ago, I took a bunch of students as a class trip at night. Someone donated some money to our classroom. I was able to buy tickets for my students. We went, my wife went with us. And here's how I went through that scenario. I found a child.
Cowered behind
I was very close. I was like, we're close. This is the closest we've ever been. I held onto their shoulders and I hid behind their back the whole time. I literally went through the whole thing, holding onto their shoulders. Christina Torres, she's great. We talked about this because she's a manager at some fancy Nancy makeup place in the Cherry Hill Mall. And the last time I saw her, she was, Mr. Reynolds, oh my God. And then she's like, remember that time that you hid behind my back? I'm like, yeah, I remember. Please don't say that in front of my kids. Literally hid behind her the whole time. Terrified. I do not like being scared. It makes me want to punch people in the face every single time. It makes me angry. Like anything that scares me. Even when I play Fortnite with Brody right now, there's all these jump scares because it's Fortnite mares is the thing. It just makes me pissed off when it happens. So do I love them? Yeah, I love the creativity. I love the way they can use lights and sounds and the costumes and the effort. Like people love that stuff.
Come on, the Eastern State Penitentiary one's not even spooky. It's like cheesy scary. You're such a wimp.
Thanks for showing up this week, everyone. We're gonna.
I love haunted stuff. I love Halloween. It's one of my favorites.
You do. It's not my favorite. I go with it. Our house is decorated to the gills. To the gills. I like fall and Christmas decorations, and I like celebrating Groundhog's Day because it's absurd.
We do that too. Just I like the spooky.
Yeah, and our kids like, man, our son loves that stuff. Anyway, gang, look, here's my new promise to you, right? Let me make a promise to you real quick. I keep saying we're gonna do stuff. And then life takes over, something lands on my plate, and I want to do this student engagement workshop so bad. Gosh, I need to just open it up, but I need to make a video for it so I can put it out there. What I need to do is just open it up. So my promise to everyone is that by this Wednesday, that will be open.
I just told you to stop promising things.
No, but I'm going to just open it up. And people that don't need the video, they don't need all the fancy razzle dazzle, right? To like,
they're just going to
help them see what it is. They can sign up. I can add the video later. That will be open by this Wednesday, so you can purchase it. And I think that's it.
All right.
I didn't even say yesterday. I almost wanted to say tomorrow.
Yeah, don't do that.
But I'm giving
because you have no idea what the rest of the day is.
I'm saying Parks Drake. Here's what I'm doing. Giving myself time to do it. All right, gang. That's it, gang. If you need anything else from us, you can reach us right at realrapwithreynolds.com. Can you take that comment off for everybody?
Sure.
And or, go to our Facebook group, which is a really wonderful place of magical and incredible people that are helping each other out. There's a lot of people in there that are struggling right now. So if you feel like you got the goods to give, or if you just need someone to connect with that's going through the same stuff that you're going through, our Facebook group is the spot to do that in.
I just encourage, if you're a teacher who is having a great year, because not every teacher's having a bad year. If you're having a great year, share those stories or help. Man. Spread some.
It doesn't. Because that can make people feel bad, but I think it can also give people hope that, like, no, man,
I think it's how you phrase it. I think you can say, like, here's my win today, or here's what I'm like. I hope to inspire.
Yeah,
like, I think if we share that,
it's like a singing in the rain moment. But
sorry,
cool. But that's it, gang. Anything else, wife?
No.
Rad. See you next week, everybody. Peace.